Aloha mai. The regular meeting of the Commission on Children and Youth is called to order. I'm Kayla Kutaka, chairperson for this commission. It is now 2:42 on August 24th, 2026. We are meeting at the County of Maui Finance Conference Room as well as online via Microsoft Teams. I will pass the microphone over to Secretary Nakama, who will take roll.
Aloha members, and pursuant with the Sunshine Law, if you are attending virtually, please state your location and the names of any adults in the room with you. Commissioner Bolo is excused. Commissioner Chavez, John are also excused. Commissioner Lolesio.
Hello, everybody. I am in my office and no one else is here but myself.
Commissioner Dubos is still on her way, hopefully. Commissioner McCafferty.
Here, President.
Commissioner Medeiros. Vice Chair Tonneson.
In person, present.
And Chair Kutaka.
I am in my home residence and I am the only adult here.
Mahalo members, for the record, I will note county staff present. From Corporation Counsel, we have Adrian Rexsnyder, and I'm Jenna Nakama, Staff Secretary. Okay, Chair, back to you.
Mahalo nui for doing roll. At this time, I will open the floor for public testimony on any agenda item listed for today's meeting. Testifiers may testify once per item and are requested to state which agenda item they will testify on, and sharing your name is optional. Would anyone like to give public testimony on any agenda items at this time?
None, Chair.
Okay, I will go ahead and close public testimony. First order of business is approval of the July 20th, 2026 drafted minutes that were linked into your agenda. I'm going to open the floor for public testimony on this item. Do we have any testifiers?
None, Chair.
Okay, I will close public testimony. Commissioners, are there any recommended revisions on the meetings minutes from last meeting?
No revisions.
I'm going to keep the floor open for 10 seconds. Be much faster. Commissioners, any feedback on revisions for the minutes? If not, I will make a motion to approve the July 20th, 2026 drafted minutes. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Vice Chair Tonneson. Any discussion? Nope. If not, all in favor? Please raise your hand.
5 ayes, 0 noes, motion carries.
Excellent. Okay, that moves us to our first goal for business today. We are discussing building understanding and advocacy. Any public testimony regarding this agenda item before we get started?
None, Chair.
Okay, so then I will close public testimony. Our first item for this section would be discussion for the FY2028 budget request. Per our last meeting, we had discussed some general maybe funding items that may be beneficial for the commission. And this would be again for fiscal year 2028, which means it would begin July 1st, 2027, ending June 30th, 2028. Anyone please jump in if I am incorrect to that. So what I was tasked to do prior to this meeting was to draft a letter. This letter goes to Department of Human Concerns. The director is Margaret Willis, and we would be requesting some of these items. So I will share my screen here as I run through some of the things that we had requested. Some of the line items that we had requested were things like a budget to allow commissioners to attend during that fiscal year, which would be October 2027, the Hawaii Children and Youth Summit. There's actually no registration fee, but this would cover costs for commissioners to be able to attend. It is on Oahu Island. So this would cover some of these costs. That is $1,000 for some of those costs. In order to strengthen our knowledge and statewide partnerships around some of the work that we're doing. The next item that was suggested was around printed materials. funding is requested around things like, printing out brochures, printing out whether there's banners or other materials, things that are needed. If kind of next line item will be around community engagement. So if there's any materials that are needed around community engagement, activities or events that are, planned, that this is where some of those funds would come from. And then again, something that we discussed was being able to host, not only just put out a survey, but to be able to host community forums. There's both, this says Maui community, because this would be $2,000 based on kind of vendor fees or things that would be for Maui Island in various ways, kind of hosting multiple community forums. Again, these are all kind of for discussion. This is just a first draft. But with the intention to elevate local voices and kind of get some input from the community, and then a separate line item to fund for Molokai and Lanai engagement, that fund is separate in the sense that it would allow for us to travel there as well as be able to host forums there. This is a general summary of the funds that are being requested. These numbers are rather frugal. They all break down, they all kind of come out to covering what we're asking for. But this is the first time that we've requested, I don't know about history within the last, a good amount of time, and we have not requested funds. And so, especially for items like this, so it was kind of leaning into the frugal side, as is our first request. But I'm open to flexibility if there is, increases for discussion. So I will go ahead, I'm going to double check my notes here. I think that's all I have for presentation of the item. Open for discussion. I will share my screen again if that's helpful for the group.
I think it's a reasonable budget to start with, especially because we haven't really engaged in anything that was of cost recently. So I'm comfortable with what you proposed.
Other thoughts? Anyone think it's too low? Anyone think we should be, I mean, I know you all, it's all been linked for you all to be able to view, hopefully prior to or right now. A few things that were just kind of slated in there, but open for discussion are things like the budget for the summit was identifying 2 commissioners that would go to the summit. The community forums identified 2, like the funds for 2 community forums, and then 1 on Molokai, 1 on Lanai, or some community engagement that way. So like, if anyone has thoughts on, we can't all go because then there's quorum and some of those pieces, but if we wanted more to go, if we wanted to do more forums, again, like Vice Chair Jonathan mentioned, but it's kind of a good start. It kind of gets us kind of a kickstart since we haven't asked for some of these things in the past, but also open for discussion.
I agree with Paul. I think this is, and you as well, obviously, because you wrote this. I think it's a good starting point. I kind of feel it's hard to ask for a lot of money or a lot more than this if we've never asked for it before, because of course everything will be scrutinized and have to be justified. And I think your breakdown of it, I think it's fair. So I really accept it as it. Thank you for your work.
I do budgets a lot in my day-to-day, and they're not usually this well received. So I was expecting a lot more. So I appreciate all the positivity. Great. Any other thoughts, commissioners?
It's a good start.
Good start. Okay. I will count to 10 very slowly in my mind. If any other commissioners, as a teacher, that was what they told us, was like count to 10. If anyone has any other thoughts, otherwise I can move us to a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the proposed budget as presented for fiscal year 2028, coming from Maui County Commission on Children and Youth.
to Margaret Willis, DHC Director.
Yes, yep. To Margaret Willis, Director of Department of Human Services. I'll second that. I am second.
Did I hear a second?
Brian did.
Got it. Oh, lots of seconds. There's a lot of engagement on that one. Okay. I will open for a vote. Hands raised. All in favor?
6 ayes, 0 noes, motion carries. Excuse me, Chair.
Awesome. Yes.
Chair, for the record, I just want to note that Commissioner Lubos has joined the meeting, so we now have 6 members present.
Amazing. Welcome, Commissioner Lubos. Okay, I will move us on in our agenda. Excellent. The next order of business is new business under our goal around building understanding and advocacy. We have asked for a presentation by Corp Counsel on Sunshine Law and to talk a little bit more about member responsibilities. Do we have a speaker?
Hi, Chair. Yeah, I can do the presentation.
Amazing.
I have I'm trying, for some reason my notes aren't loading, but that's okay. I just might have to read off the slides a little bit more than I usually like to. Can I share my screen?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I say that with full confidence. I assume that the tech would allow you to do that.
I
but-
would assume so too. Sometimes I just need to get the authorization, but
Absolutely. Authorization fully welcome.
okay, perfect. Let me just get the right one up here. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, here we go. Is this not sharing? You folks see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Is that like full screen or is that sort of like what I'm seeing?
It's what you're seeing.
Okay. I'm trying to see present. How's that? Is that a little more formal?
You got it.
Yes.
Okay, let's try this out. Okay, so I'm going to talk about Sunshine Law today. This all comes from HRS Chapter 92, and it sort of dictates what open meetings, what can and cannot be done during them, such as the meeting that we're doing right now. General policy and intent of the Sunshine Law is to open up the government process to public scrutiny and participation by requiring various boards and commissions to conduct their business as openly as possible. Absent a specific statutory exception, board business cannot be discussed between board members outside of a noticed public meeting. And I will get into what exactly that definition of board business is right now. So what does constitute board business? Sunshine Law defines board business as specific matters over which a board has supervision, control, jurisdiction, or advisory power that are actually pending before the board, or that can be reasonably anticipated to arise before the board in the foreseeable future. So this is the Office of Information Practices has provided some guidance on this in the past, and it is a narrow interpretation so as not to impede sort of your rights of communicating freely outside of the board or commission. So it would have to be it's a narrow interpretation, meaning that it would have to couldn't be too wishy-washy. Like it would have to be very very obvious that it would come to it's pending currently, or it would pend, it would come before the board in the foreseeable future. So if you have any questions of what that might be, you can always reach out to me or the Office of Information Practices. And it is a balance between the board members' constitutional rights of free expression and association versus the public interest in open government. And they limit it to discrete proposals or issues that are actually pending before a board. What does the Sunshine Law govern? Conducting meetings, disseminating documents during those meetings, public notice of meetings and agendas, minutes of meetings, and interactions between board members outside of regularly scheduled meetings. So all that stuff is covered by Sunshine Law. A meeting is the convening of a board to make or deliberate upon deliberate on a decision upon a matter over which the board has or is likely to have supervision, control, jurisdiction, or advisory power. That's under the HRS. All actions of the commission must be taken by motion approved by quorum. For example, 5 out of 9 members. So for notice of the agenda, it's got to be written. It has to be public. Any regular, special, or rescheduled meeting has to be stated on there. The date, time, place of the meeting. The agenda must list all items to be discussed. So anything that's not on the agenda technically is not really allowed to be discussed upon. Executive meetings, if anticipated. We haven't had any of those yet. I'm not sure if we would have one in the future, but just if it is anticipated to have an executive session, just a brief description of the purpose of what that executive session is all about. The agenda must be posted no less than 6 calendar days prior to the meeting, and it has to be filed in the county clerk's office and posted on the county's electronic calendar as well as the board's office. Also, feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions on the fly. So what is required during open meetings? Every meeting of the board is open to the public, either in person or by interactive conference technology. All interested persons shall have an opportunity to submit data, views, or arguments in writing on any agenda item. All interested persons shall have the opportunity to present oral testimony on any agenda item. The board may make reasonable time limits of oral testimony. A lot of times what you see is like 3 minutes, but completely at your discretion, chair and board. The testimony cannot be limited to strictly just at the start of the meeting. So once each of those agenda items comes up, there has to be an opportunity for the public to weigh in. Okay, remote meetings by interactive tech. Board members may participate via remote interactive technology. We're just doing Teams now, but in the past we did Blue Jeans and Zoom. One physical meeting location must be open to the public. So yeah, a lot of times like Maui County is unique in the sense that we have 3 islands. So as long as we have one public testimony in-person site at those locations, then that's sufficient. Roll call. Each board member shall state the name of any person 18 years of age or older who is present with them. However, if a person under age 18 has a personal business, property, or financial interest on any issue before the board, they must state their name. Board members Board members must keep their cameras on, must have a quorum of members with cameras on at all times, or the meeting must be canceled. Technical difficulties. If any of those arise, you can recess for up to 30 minutes to try and establish connectivity. If we can't figure it out within the 30 minutes, unfortunately, we do need to postpone and reschedule. Okay, permitted interactions outside of regular meetings. So there's a couple of these. One of these is when two members can discuss matters relating to official board business, so long as no commitment to vote is made or sought, and so long as 2 members do not make a quorum of that board. So yeah, I mean, board business can discuss as long as there is no discussion or commitment to vote, and there is not a quorum, or there's not a group of people that would establish a quorum if there was a meeting happening. So that's one of the rules to remember. Yeah, just make sure that you're not doing anything outside of the public meeting if there's a quorum of the commissioners present. More than 2 members of a board cannot gather to discuss board business. Again, as long as there's less than a quorum, it's okay. Board members cannot discuss board business via group email. For social gatherings, avoid discussing board business. This is like, I don't know, if you're at you're at the bar or you're at a baby shower or something like that, whatever it might be. Just try to keep a lid on what's going on to the best of your ability. Again, there are permitted interactions, but just sort of best to keep in the back of the mind. Only discussed during these public hearings. Discussion. Oh, excuse me. Discussion of board business with non-board members. Generally, sunshine law does not apply. So you're good to go as long as not another board member and there's no sort of like backdoor dealings. You should be okay talking with non-board members. Meetings may be held by telephone or video conference, public location, private for disabled board members. So yeah, and in an emergency, if something really does go wrong, then you can just call in by telephone or the video conference number. So try to be flexible with new tech coming out. So another type of permitted interaction is the temporary investigative group, aka the TIG. So this is a situation 2 or more, but less than a quorum. So for CCY, that'd be 4 commissioners. What you would do is a minimum of 3 meetings. So the first meeting would be identifying what the scope of the investigation is and the scope of the authority defined. So you would do that at that first board meeting. So generally, when the need arises for the TIG, you would motion to create the TIG. During that motion, the scope of the work that the TIG needs to do would be defined, and then the purpose of why that TIG is being formed would be defined. And then at the next meeting, that's when all findings and recommendations would be presented. So the TIG would leave that first meeting, go out into the community, do the research, information collect, then come back. This would be now the second meeting, present to the board on their findings. And after that presentation, no deliberation or decision making can occur. That would happen at the third meeting. So at that third meeting, then the entire board, including the TIG members, come back, reconvene, discuss the presentation, hopefully take action, and then that agenda item would be resolved. Another important thing to note is that after that second meeting, after the TIG presents, it is essentially disbanded at that point. So the purpose of the TIG has been completed. The TIG is dissolved, and then that third meeting, everybody comes back together to discuss and then take action. So again, yeah, minimum of 3 meetings if you form a TIG. And then, yeah, no discussion of the topic assigned to the TIG until deliberation and decision making occurs, which would happen on that third meeting. Any questions on that? Seeing none. Okay. So another permitted interaction is the informational meeting or presentation. So same deal, 2 or more, but less than a quorum. This would be like an informational meeting or presentation that either the commission would put on, or certain commission members would be invited to, but another organization or group. So it would be a matter relating to official board business, so long as not specifically and exclusively organized for or directed to members of the board. So yeah, again, like it would have to be an event that's available to the general public, or at least other appropriate groups, that it's not just a specific presentation for the commission that's outside of a public hearing. Which kind of, I mean, it makes sense in my mind, right? It's like anything there needs to be transparency for the public. And that this isn't just, generally it's allowed, you go out, you hear a presentation, you come back, and then you sort of report on what was heard or discussed at the next regularly scheduled public hearing. That way the public's fully aware of everything that happens. So examples of this, just another entity, legislative hearing, convention, seminar, community meeting. Again, all of these are not directed specifically to the commission, but relates to board business, and other members of the community can attend. What can a board member do at the informational meeting / presentation? Can participate in discussions, including amongst themselves. Discussion must be during and part of the informational meeting or presentation. No commitments to vote on matters sought or made. And then, yeah, like as I was saying, at the next duly noticed meeting, members shall report on their attendance, what the matters were that were presented and discussed, and everything that was related to the official board business of the commission. Okay, so testimony and presentations at canceled meeting. If the meeting is canceled due to a lack of quorum, technical difficulties, whatever, the commissioners in attendance may receive testimony and presentations. You folks can question the testifiers and presenters. However, no deliberation or decision making can occur, just because there's no quorum. Yeah, for that to occur, you would need all the requisite commission members to do so. So the record must be created and presented to absent board members at the next meeting. That's essentially just catch them up to speed before you folks enter back into discussions and deliberation. Executive meetings. These are meetings that are closed to the public. They're covered under the HRS Sunshine Law 9245. So that requires 2/3 affirmative vote of the members present. So a situation where this would arise is like, anything where there might be like client lawyer privilege, like confidentiality privilege, or there's like a sort of a sensitive subject that's sort of an internal matter that we would need to discuss privately and then report back to the public after that discussion's occurred. Basically just things where like the details aren't necessarily, it's inappropriate for the public to understand or to know about the process, but obviously full transparency on the result. And we can kind of talk about what specific examples of that might be, but generally where they've come up with with me personally and others in our office is like nominations. Nominations, or if there's a pending case, if there's an issue that's related to a pending case that we cannot discuss because it's privileged. So it's just sort of stuff like that. Sorry, there's examples here. So examples. To consider the higher evaluation, dismissal, or discipline of an officer or employee where consideration of matters affecting privacy will be involved. Employee can waive this and allow for discussion in open meeting. To consult with the board's attorney on questions and issues pertaining to the board's powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities. So yeah, lawyer, client, attorney privilege. Okay, violations. So if there is a violation of sunshine law, a few things can happen. The decision can obviously be voided just because the protocol wasn't followed properly. There could be an injunction. Could rise if it's really bad to the member being found guilty of a misdemeanor, and then likewise removed from the committee. So it's varying degrees, but really it's more about the intent. If you knew what you were doing and still did it anyways, then penalty is a bit more severe. Okay, then we got the Office of Information Practices, or OIP. These folks are great. A lot of times when there's an issue that's kind of in the gray area and there's not necessarily a decision that comes out of their office to weigh in and sort of help guide on which side of the fence you want to land on, can always call them and talk to their lawyer of the day. If they don't have an answer for you, they'll go back, talk with their team, and then issue a decision. And the great thing about that is whether or not that decision is correct in the long run, sometimes their decisions get challenged and then overturned. However, any decision that comes out of the OIP office, we can rely on, and essentially holds us, gets rid of any liability we might have. So if there's an issue or it's kind of like on the fence on something, generally like to get some sort of a determination from OIP. That determination we can rely on without being held liable down the line if that decision is overturned. So kind of just gives us like blanket immunity on that issue if we rely on OIP's determination. And then that's their info on there if you want to call, or can always just have me or somebody else at Corporate Counsel do that for you. Okay, and I think that's it. Any questions, folks?
No questions? It was just
Nope.
so thorough. We didn't have any questions.
Thank
Of
you.
course,
Adrian.
Vice Chair Tonneson has something.
No, I just
Oh,
I extended my gratitude for refreshing us on the sunshine laws.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's always evolving, and there's always questions that are going to come up where there isn't, a clear answer. So, happy to work with you folks through it whenever, however.
I appreciate it. I think a big piece of, some of our goals that we have as a commission are about learning more and ensuring that we're doing all that we can as a commission and kind of understanding where those lines are. And I think one of the great pieces about having you come to this presentation is that like all of us, like we receive basically all of sunshine law when we sign up, right? Like when we are brought in to these commissions. But I think it's just such a different picture when you're actually in it and when you're doing this work. And then when you're like, oh wait, how many people do I, like I think it just kind of comes back to that. So I kind of jotted down a few things that I think are really helpful just to kind of spark maybe some discussion around us, or maybe just shed some light on some things I thought were really helpful. We're even down to the pieces where, Jenna's constantly, okay, I'm going to rewind. I want to make sure that Jenna's painted in the best light here. When Secretary Nakama is reaching out on follow-up items, when we're reaching out on agenda items, like all of that isn't just like someone saying that there's a, arbitrary due date. Like she's not just, this is like the law states like this is when she needs those items. So I think that's really helpful to remember when we are, taking on action items during meetings. The turnaround is actually a lot faster on some of these items than it's not just like at work where I know I need to bring that to the next meeting, or the next time we meet, I need to have these things done. These are actually, there's some lead up time that we need to have some of these things done. So I think it's really great to kind of reiterate that the agenda itself and all the items that need to be discussed must, all of them need to be on the list. Like everything we talk about needs to be on the agenda, and that agenda needs to be posted 6 days prior. And so I think that's all just helpful knowledge for us. I think the reminders around kind of the numbers of people who can be discussing different things. I know that there are different places where we all see each other in the community. And so I think it's a really great reminder around, when things can be discussed and what can be discussed. Maybe we just, when we're at the baby shower, like you said, maybe we just don't talk about this and we keep things separate. I think that's a great reminder since we all are in each other's lives all the time. I think there's helpful reminders around the kind of PIG-TIG piece. There have been a few items that we have taken kind of off the floor, maybe with 2 people to kind of say, hey, the 2 of you can work on this. I think it's a great reminder as to why we say 2. Because I think even last meeting, I think there was one where like someone else wanted to jump in and help. And then it was like, oh, wait, but then once we get to 3, it was a good reminder that like, then we need to take, because then we need to open it up. And then this one little item that's going to take 5 minutes between the 2 of us is actually going to take 6, or it's going to take 3 meetings, and we need to meet 6 days after, so there's all these pieces to kind of taking on responsibility outside of meetings. So I think these are all really, really helpful reminders. I think at my work, we are the champions of a group email. So I think it's a great reminder that we can't do that. And it's not because we don't want to, it's for the sake of like just making sure that the community is well informed on the actions that we're taking and the discussions we're having. So it really all does come back to community, which I think is really helpful. I very much appreciate these kind of reminder points. I also love Lawyer of the Day. I love that that's what it's called. I also Googled blue jeans on the side because I had not heard of blue jeans as a platform. I thought that was great. But those are some of my reflections. Any other kind of items of note? Any other things that resonated with folks? That's gonna be my joke of the day. Okay, if we don't have any other discussion or questions, I'm just gonna say that it must have been such a successful, super well-rounded and thoughtful presentation that there's no questions or discussion. And then we thank you very much for doing that for us, Deputy Center.
Absolutely. Yeah. And always here for further refreshers if they're needed.
We appreciate it. We know we're constantly asking you like, oh, wait, is that okay? So now that you have this presentation, maybe you'll hear that a lot less, but we do really appreciate you being available for that.
100%. Yeah, my pleasure.
Awesome. Thanks. Okay, so I will keep us moving here. We've got about, what, 43 more minutes here. I will move us to our next agenda item, which is our goal around, let's make sure that I'm in the right spot here. Increasing safety for children and youth. I'm going to open the floor for public testimony around this item. Is there any testimony?
Madam Chair.
Okay, so I will close public testimony. I am identifying here. Maybe do we have this? This is an agenda item that Commissioner Chavez took on. I have 8,000 tabs open. Secretary Nakama, do we have a draft of this?
We do not, Chair.
Okay, so then we will table this item for next meeting. Agreed? Nothing to discuss? I don't have anything. So, okay, so I will move us on to our next. Thank you for confirming, Secretary Nakama. I move us on to our next, which is our goal around building youth voice. Do we have any public testimony regarding the goal and discussion around building youth voice?
Madam Chair.
Okay, I will close public testimony. I am going to pass it off to our two commissioners who took this on at our last meeting, were Commissioner Lubos and Commissioner Chavez, around discussing preparing materials, preparing a flyer, preparing different things for the meeting to be held TBD for the Youth Advisory Group. I'm just double checking what we have. Okay, I'm going to pass it off to Commissioner Lubos. Do you have anything you wanted to share about this item?
Yes. I don't have a flyer currently made for the YAG, but I've been working on structure and timeline, and to help me better grasp of what I'll be working on and have a clear idea of how I want to approach it. But hopefully by the end of this week, I'll make sure to have a flyer, and on that flyer, I wish to have a QR code of like a Google form to ask those who are interested in joining some simple questions like their age, school grade, community, and like simple contact information. I'd also want to put a question and add there why you're interested in joining YAG and what skills you could contribute and how you want to participate in this group. And right now for the timeline, I wish by the next time we meet as CCY, I hope to have recruit interested youth members across the county, even if it's a small group, and then I'll be preparing for the very first meeting, hopefully held on the first week of October, and have everyone introduce each other, explain what YAG is about, what the purpose is, the goals, and establish a leadership and decide how it will operate. Since I'll be a liaison, I don't want to be the one holding it, I guess, since I want them to have the power to make decisions for themselves. So I'll hope to have a structure of how it'll be at, and hopefully by the next time we meet by October, I hope to have an update on CCY. Although I did have a question, if I were to build a flyer, I don't know how to, I guess, get it across the county. Do you guys have any ideas on how I could do that?
Yes. Great. I love this question. I also want to say I love all of your preparation, and this all sounds amazing. I just wanted to pause for a second. So since this is regarding the YAG, we actually don't need to move and approve anything. We don't need to approve a flyer. We don't need to approve anything because it's not for us, right? Am I getting consensus on that? Yeah?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah. So then, yeah, I'm all for it. I'm on board. Distribution, I mean, I feel like once things are developed, I'm looking at Secretary Nakama. Once things are developed, can we have them sent to you and then they could be distributed to be just like for commissioners to just share out?
Sure. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, cool. So then Commissioner Lubos, once you have materials to be sent out, as long as the materials don't say like on behalf of the Commission on Children and Youth, like as long as none of that is, then yeah, you can send them to us. I know that we have a number of contacts. I'm looking at you, Commissioner Alessio. I know that you've got all the people. Commissioner Bolo also has a lot of connections within the schools to make some of those contacts. I can help with some of the kind of central DOE schools as well. And we can just kind of get, I know that they need to do, I mean, I'm not the prime person to be able to talk about this, but I know from experience that like administrators at schools would need approval to like send things blanketly out to families. But I don't know if they could hang up I'm sure there's other ways that they could like hang up a flyer in the counselor center or things like that too. So I think if we can get them in the right hands, it'd be great.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah. Other commissioners' thoughts?
Great job.
Yeah. Second that. Excellent.
Love the flyer. The draft.
Amazing. Okay. Any other thoughts? That is our one item, is just talking about preparation timeline. Commissioner Lubos, you did it also. I'm good. Any other thoughts, questions about the egg team? Commissioner? Okay. Commissioner Lubos, anything else for us? No? Cool. 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10. Appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to move us to our next agenda item, which is around building community voice. So I'm going to open us up for public testimony. Do you have any public testifiers at this time?
None, Chair.
Okay, I will close public testimony and I will lead us to our first item of business is the brochure update. So I don't know if any of you have had a chance to see the brochure that's linked into the agenda. This is, so we were unable to get an editable version of the old brochure. Doesn't exist. So this is my whack at trying to create something that was easy and similar. Period. So I shared my screen here. This is something. This is something that was created. I have no attachment to any of this. I'm open to all the feedback. I think one particular item of discussion that we'd like to have is that, so this is kind of front and back. It's just a bifold instead of a trifold. I felt like that saved time as well in prepping. And plus there's a lot of words. So I felt like it was easier to fit them on 2 pages or like a half page versus a little skinny section. One item of discussion that I wanted to bring up to the group just before I open it up was the piece around this QR code is for the family survey that we have in existence. If we print out a whole bunch of these and then we change the survey or whatever the case, I think that's a barrier. So there's a potential idea of routing a QR code to the website instead of the survey itself, but that's like an extra click for people. All in all, that was one thing I wanted to make sure that came across to the group before discussion, but otherwise open to feedback on this. This is an AI generated visual that can be changed if we wanted to. Cool. Okay, open up the floor.
Sorry, are you sharing your screen?
Oh, I am. It says that I am, but let me try again. Is that better? Awesome. Thank you for letting me know. I will also say to the commission, like, we don't have an event on the books that we are in a rush to approve this and like get them all printed. So if we also want to discuss edits or revisions, if we want the group to take the next time to come back at the next meeting for we can provide some revisions now, prepare a new draft and discuss it again, I'm just opening the floor.
I have a quick question. On the inside page, it says commissioners want to hear from you. Provide testimony online or in person.
Mm-hmm.
Should there be a quick sentence on how they can contact?
Okay.
I'm just looking over it. Yeah, I'm looking over everything here. There's really not much on the contact except the back, visit the commission website. Or maybe just put that there too.
Good
You
feedback.
know, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you visit the commission website and put the website under there.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I saw. And I like the idea of keeping the survey. I think if we're just conservative, when we are printing, that we're not printing 2,000 or whatever it may be, the number. That we'll realize if we do change the survey that we'd have to dispose of any of the previous brochures.
Yeah, and I've done this before in the sense too of if you get the big shipping labels, you can print 2 QR codes on a shipping label and then just like pop them in on over, you know. So I've been in orgs where we've had to do this before, where we've had like, you know, Vice Chair Thomas mentioned like 2,000, and I mean obviously that's not the ideal. We could print in smaller batches, but in the worst case scenario, we could cover up those QR codes or replace them.
There's a Lights for Lahaina event coming up September 11 and 12. I would love if possible, to have this information available for an informational table at the event. We're there both nights, but I guess my question to the commission is, do I have to have a separate table with this information for the commission, separate from Sacred Heart School?
To my knowledge, I think we discussed this around Ohana Fest time, and I think the answer was you're good. You don't need like a specific table for the commission. I think that's what I remember. I'm pausing for like someone to say that that's wrong. And you're good.
Okay, and I
Yeah.
did. Okay, and I did
You're
mention
totally good.
this. Thank you, and I did mention this at Kuinia, the 3rd anniversary gathering that happened here in Lahaina, and I was asked to represent the school, and I did mention toward the end of my speech that we are looking that I invited people to go to the website and complete the family survey, because we're looking for ways that we can support the mayor and the county. And we'd like for them to complete that. I don't know if, I hope that, from what I've heard, that might be okay too. So inviting people to complete the
I think as long as you're not standing up with more people, like more commissioners to say that, I think you're good.
I was the only one. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you're good. So then I guess with that said, I mean, so I think that's a good timeline. Would the commission also, I think this is an opportunity, we could be open to like approving a small batch print of this too. Like we could, with the revision that was already on the floor, we could prepare a motion so that we do have approval for you to move forward with that, Commissioner Lilesi, with the next event.
Okay. I also
I'm
have
gonna wash my hands of the motion. I developed this, so I'm gonna go ahead and let someone else move if that's okay with the group. And also open to once we do make the motion and can do some discussion on it, I'm open to other revisions as well.
And because I see that I see this family survey, I recall that in the past minutes, I was asked to give a presentation on the Google form results, and if that can be something for either today or the next time, that's okay with me too.
Yeah, we'll keep that as a standing item. I think that's a good check-in point, especially if between meetings we're all going out and telling people to fill it out.
Okay.
I think it's good to keep revisiting. Absolutely. Thank you for being the host of that.
Thank you.
So we have an estimate. I was there last year. I volunteered for the lantern lighting event. Approximately how many you would anticipate needed?
I would say maybe about 200 brochures. Yeah, 200 brochures should be okay. It's a good thing we have the QR code because they can also scan it if they want to.
So, like not
Or
everybody
on
has to
their phone.
take one. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's 2 nights or 2 days.
Yeah.
And
And
then
I
share.
mean, yeah, I was just gonna offer, like, I'm open if we want to approve it as is. I'm open to approving it with revisions. I'm open to approving it in a small batch versus just overall. It was just more that I think I'm sensing that I have like presenter anxiety from like having created something. I'm not a creative person. This was Canva. And so I think that's why I'm like, if we don't have to be committed, I can remove my feelings from this. If we would like to just move forward with this, that's fine. We can discuss as a group what we want to do.
I'd like to make a motion to move forward with this flyer with the revision that was requested by Commissioner Thompson.
Can I get a second?
I second
Amazing.
to move forward.
Wonderful. Okay, so then are there any other revisions or discussion on this motion? And the only revision currently being discussed is adding how to testify. Correct. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I love it. Thank you. It looks great.
Good. I love that. Any other revisions, feedback, discussion before we move to vote? Okay, I'm seeing some head nods. I will move us to vote. All in favor? Moving forward with the motion as presented?
Okay, 6 ayes, 0 noes, motion carries.
Thank you. I will stop sharing. Excellent. Okay, so that is our brochure update. I will proceed with that amendment or that revision, excuse me. And then I will go ahead and send it over, a final over to Secretary Nakama to distribute. The next agenda item that we got 25 more minutes here, is the standing agenda item around the community survey distribution update and results check-in. So I don't know if Commissioner Lolesio, I don't know if you have any information or anything to share from the data.
Oh, from the family survey. So there were about
Yeah.
34. Oh, is it okay if I share a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Please do.
I don't know if you want me to do a screen share, but I also can just go real quick. There are about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 real quick slides that again that was generated with the Google form responses.
Oh, I love it. The floor is yours. You have like 20 minutes, so go for it. Don't feel like you need to use it all, but feel free to present what you'd like.
Oh, okay. You want me to screen share?
Sure.
Or you
Yeah.
want me to just, okay, let me screen share then.
Whatever you're more comfortable with. Absolutely.
You see my screen? Wait, let me try that one more time. Allow to share a window. Allow to share a screen. I think it's allowed to share a screen or window. Let's try window. You see this window? You see this window?
Not
The
yet.
family survey? Not yet.
It came up
Got it.
originally when you first did it.
Okay, let me try the first one. You see this window?
Yep.
Yes.
There you go.
Oh, okay. I don't see you, but I see this window that you're seeing who responded. About 68% caregivers. You can see the results. Parents and caregivers are right now are the primary perspectives. And then the age groups. We had one Molokai response. Sorry if I'm a lack for words. Today is a Monday. There was a lot
you're
of
good.
talking.
You're good.
There's
You
been a
have
lot
a
of
great
talking.
presentation that's speaking for you,
Okay.
so you're good.
I'm a very visual person, so if you have any questions, please feel free to discuss in the group. But the first thing that the priority right now for everybody is stable housing, of course. And you can see that most of the people that have completed the survey are from out here on our side. So stable housing, and then not surprising, right after that is mental health support and safe use spaces. I'm happy to share that. Of course, you've probably heard the news or saw the reports that we opened up the playground out here. But we need more places and opportunities for the youth and the children to have a safe space to socialize and have after school programs and aftercare. Available somewhere is not the same as accessible. So again, a lot of work out here for West Maui. Families and children and youth. One of the things that I think is really important that I'm seeing with families, number 2, because number 1 is something that's always it's ongoing. It's going to take a very long time for families to achieve this. But the mental health that goes with all of that, because it's not just housing, it's other aspects of rebuilding. But the mental health support, and one of the things I spoke about or brought up in Kuhinia is that our young people need strong adults, who are going to be able to build a West Maui or Lahaina that the children of West Maui can thrive in. So, I'm really looking for families to, within their struggle, have the services, or look for the services that can be available to them in order to help strengthen them or give them a way to deal with what they're going through, mental, social, emotional, so that they can be strong and they can be present for their children. Because children and the youth out here in West Maui, they are the future and they are the hope of West Maui and Lahaina. And if we really do need our adults or our older people to set that example and be strong, and again present, influences, positive influences for them, that go along with everything to do with rebuilding and renewing out here in West Maui. So the families that completed the form describe services that exist but are too difficult to reach consistently from Lahaina or West Maui. Everything seems at this point to be located in Kahului on the other side. creating barriers for families without time, transportation, or schedule flexibility. And I'm glad that we did the whole bus sign thing, and hopefully, we can encourage people to take that form of transportation if that is an option. So some of the requested services out here: Lahaina Library, shaded park, safe gathering spaces, after-school programs, youth sports, health services, and more frequent resource visits. And for youth-focused middle school and teen respondent or families, emphasize safe spaces, again, counseling and mentor activities for our middle school and high school students. And then the cost of living, households above 50,000 is still named housing, food and childcare, healthcare, and financial support as concerns. And the strongest equity takeaway is not only who needs help, but where and how help is delivered. So again, just looking at that, not much out here versus what's on your side of the island, and how that's, how they can access those services. And then families are asking for support that meets real life, affordable, safe, consistent, culturally connected, and close enough to use. Basically, with these 34, the results off of Google Form, that's kind of the bottom line. I'm gonna assume that going forward, any more information we get, or any more, responses to that survey will still be along that line.
Yeah, I think that's huge.
Yeah.
That's an awesome presentation. Was that just developed by like what Copilot, or what is Gmail, Gemini, after with
So,
all the data
yeah.
from the?
Mm-hmm.
That's
So this
awesome.
is one of the reasons why I love doing Google Forms, is because it generates it. There's an initial generated graphs and results. Then I take that and I put it to Gemini. That's the school's platform, and I just ask it to generate a presentation for me with a summary presentation based on what the results were from the Commission and Children, Youth, Family Survey from Google Form. Makes life so easier sometimes.
Yeah, that's so nice.
Yeah, based on all of the results, which is, work in progress.
No, I love it. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing your screen. Thank you for the presentation. Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was, I mean, yeah, like if we can have, and I also love that we're not adding too much extra work to your plate to have to like analyze data. I think that's amazing. So thank you, AI, for that.
Yeah.
The available somewhere is not the same as accessible was, I think, like a mic drop moment for a lot of families. We work with a lot of families on Lanai, West Maui, Hana, even upcountry, really. Like there's just saying that it exists, but it's in town doesn't necessarily mean it's available, right?
Yeah.
That's huge.
Thank you.
Well, I have so many thoughts. Okay, that was amazing. Thank you. Commissioners, thoughts, questions, reflections?
I have a question. Is there
Go ahead.
still a youth center in Lahaina by the pool? That park across from the pool used to be a youth center there years ago.
Yeah, the Boys and Girls Club.
Yes, is it still operational?
No, I have to check. I know that there are there are some activities out there. I think there are some basketball clubs or sports clubs using the field, but I'm not sure whether the actual Boys and Girls Club program is up and running. Normal
Yeah.
hours. They might have a few programs pop up here and now and then, but not the full range that we were used to pre-fire. Used to have kids walk over there after school. We see them walk across the highway and be like, oh my goodness, scary. But they'll do it because it's a great program. It's safe. They're fine.
I have a quick question on where you prioritize naturally housing came up first, stabilized housing. I saw substance use care a couple of times. Does that seem to be under the mental health? Something we could research about maybe, and I don't mind taking it on, checking in with Boys and Girls Club, seeing what they're doing and seeing if they're partnering with anyone to address that.
Yeah. I see here that under youth mental health, it's more trauma and grief support. And yeah, the trauma and grief support is what's listed first. Counseling, trauma, grief support, teen behavioral health, and then substance use care and trusted adult mentors.
Because I would think that, and again, I don't mind reaching out and doing a little research between now and next meeting. Just checking in with Boys and Girls Club, see who they're bringing in for partners, or if they are even addressing these needs. Because I am involved with the Lahaina long-term recovery groups, and I'm in meetings, and I know Amy Peterson has been over there working out of the Civic Center.
Yeah.
But that's going away soon, what I was told in the last meeting. So,
yeah, it's just a funding piece. Yeah, their funding is shifting again. Hopefully they're able to recover the funding they need.
So maybe I could do some research and see, they're gonna be adequate things put in place during the shifts. And what is in place now and what is needed. So I don't mind doing a little research ahead of time, because I think that's pretty important that we address that need and let them know that we are addressing the concern. Like housing is housing. You know, the mayor's, I know, trying to do some stuff, and I just saw they opened up that center over there that was being utilized, and they're trying to figure that out. If the commission's okay, I don't mind doing a little research and doing a report at the next meeting. I'll get it off to Jen.
Just to clarify, Vice Chair Jonathan, are you going to do some research on Boys and Girls Club specifically, or a wider range? Okay, just wanted to confirm.
What's in place? And then with the shift coming during the last meeting, I might want to follow up and say, is there anything replacing it, or you know what I mean? What Amy had brought up, and get some more clarification on that.
Okay, so is this potentially like an opportunity for us to discuss? Maybe everyone could kind of do their own research and development piece of like bringing back a discussion on like what resources are available around trauma and behavioral health supports for youth. I have a number to share as well.
Right.
And I'll also say that PAC's #1 clinical therapist lives in Lahaina, born and raised Lahaina. So I think that's good to kind of resource share. Like, what are all the, maybe we develop a list. Maybe that's something that we can be working on too as a commission, is developing a list of available, maybe per area, what are some available resources, vetted resources.
Yeah. And are those resources being publicized to the community out there on the west side?
Yes.
Yeah, that's more or less what I'm trying, you know, is there availability, and is that availability being made to the community, the resources, or are they lacking something? We've all gone somewhere, and I've had discussions, and they'll say, well, we can't do this. And then when you turn and say, well, have you ever tried to contact parents and children together? They have a program, right? It's about collaboration, and it's right there on your brochure that you did, the importance of collaborating, making sure we're getting all the resources together to have the greatest impact on those needs. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Once we kind of are able to see what are some of the available pieces in some of these areas that are coming up, which you're exactly right, Commissioner Alessio. I think 100 people could do the survey, and I bet we can get similar results. And so, but being able to understand what that looks like, what we have kind of helps us to identify gaps too. And so I think that's helpful. So, excellent. Okay, so that's some takeaways. So we'll keep this on the agenda as an agenda item to just be reviewing the data in case there's, you know, if you see next time we come to meeting that there's 37 instead of 36, then it's okay. If you see that now there's 60, maybe we revisit, but we can keep it as an agenda item to be checking in on the data.
Okay.
Oh, excellent. If you don't mind.
Don't mind. Thank you.
Yeah, amazing. Any other thoughts, feedback before we move to our last, second to last agenda item? Okay, so I'm going to move us over to our agenda item was around website updates. So we discussed last time, just kind of a motion was made. I made some observations of the website compared to the other websites and kind of developed a list of website updates to be requested for our commission's website on the county page. And so it is linked here. I will share my screen if I can find it. Just a general list. They were all very, they seem small, but I think it'll make a bigger impact to the community. Are things like, you know, small things like updating the title text, replacing some of the like widgets. So like the clickables and making things kind of more accessible in a way. So having like, you know, Vice Chair Tonneson mentioned about the brochure of like having a page where you can just navigate to how do I testify? Something very simple and easy, like how do I get to the family survey form, listing out what our new goals are that we voted on as a commission. And then, you know, Commissioner Chavez mentioned last time, like if we could have a way to list out our like the announcements, like we could link to our media release, link to the bus project and what kind of came of that, like link to some of these things that we're doing. This one, for example, media section, removing this section is just because it's going to be moved. The content will be moved to the news and announcements. Adding a calendar section. I know that if we don't have a meeting, I don't necessarily remember when the next meeting is because it's our last agenda item. And then, yes, so like removing these things because it'll be replaced with the widget, removing this piece. Yeah. Cool. So I'm looking for a motion. They're all things that we've discussed previously, and they're all rather kind of revisions and edits, kind of making things more accessible. But I'm looking for a motion to approve sending this list off to the Department of Human Concerns to make the updates.
I'll make a motion to send the recommended updates to the Department of Human Concerns.
Thank you, Vice Chair Tonneson. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Excellent. Thank you, Commissioner McCafferty. I am looking for revisions now. Any discussion, revisions, feedback on the list? No, I'm seeing some shaking heads. Excellent. So then I will move to a vote. All in favor of sending this on for updates?
Aye.
6 ayes, 0 noes, motion carries.
Excellent. Okay, so then we'll move to our last agenda item, which is regarding our next meeting and agenda setting. I'm going to open up for public testimony regarding this item. Any public testifiers?
None, Chair.
Okay, I will close public testimony. Our next hybrid meeting is scheduled for Monday, September 4th, 2026 at 2:30 p.m. Suggestions for agenda items can go to Secretary Nakama. We're asking for them by this Thursday, August 27th. These are, again, if you have any new agenda items that you'd like to add to the list. Would anyone like to propose any of these topics at this time? I'm seeing head shaking. So I will move us on with no further business. This meeting will be adjourned at 3:56 p.m. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you in September.